Welcome back to Deep Dive Stoic. In today's episode, we're diving into 7 Stoic lessons, really, that can help you master your emotions, kind of help you navigate all those tough times in life, with a little more strength and resilience. We're looking at the wisdom from some of those classic Stoic thinkers, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca.
Oh, absolutely.
Really, this deep dive is like a cheat sheet for you. A way to get right to those core principles of Stoicism, the ones that can really help you find that inner strength. We're calling these lessons anchors. Anchors for inner peace.
Oh, like that. Anchors. Anchors for inner peace.
Yeah.
So Marcus Aurelius, he wrote something that really captures what we're exploring today. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength."
Right.
So really that sets the stage for us. How do you find that strength, that solid ground when everything feels, kind of chaotic?
Exactly. And that leads us right into our first anchor, our first of these 7 Stoic lessons.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding what's in your control. I mean, have you ever felt like life is just throwing you curveball after curveball?
Oh, yeah. Disappointments, changes, those things you just don't see coming.
Mm-hmm.
It happens to all of us. Life's full of surprises. I think what's so fascinating is that the Stoics, centuries ago, they figured out this really practical framework for dealing with all that. And it all starts with this idea of the dichotomy of control.
Okay, so break that down for us. What is the dichotomy of control all about?
Sure. So imagine you're planning this big outdoor party. You've got everything organized, right? Food, decorations, the guest list.
Mm-hmm.
But then the weather takes a turn. It starts pouring rain. Yeah. Now, you can wish for sunshine all you want, but you can't actually control the weather, right? What you can control is how you react to it. You could get totally stressed out, feel like the whole thing's ruined, or you could adapt, maybe move things indoors.
Okay.
See, that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Epictetus, who, if we remember from our sources, started out as a slave and went on to become this super influential philosopher, he put it really simply. Some things are in our control and others not. Now, that might sound obvious, but when you really let that sink in, it can be a game changer.
Yeah, that's so true. And, if you think about your everyday life, there are so many things that fit into each category. Like you can control your morning routine, what you choose to read, who you spend time with.
Right.
But then there's all this other stuff that's totally out of your hands. The news, what other people say or do. And yep, back to that unpredictable weather.
Yeah, you got it. And here's the big insight from the Stoics. They believed your well-being isn't tied to those external events themselves. It's about how you interpret them, how you choose to react to them. It's not the event itself, but our judgment about the event that causes our emotions. Right. That's worth thinking about.
Yeah, that's really powerful. It really shifts your whole perspective, doesn't it? Think about a time when you faced a setback, Maybe you didn't get that promotion you really wanted. At the time, it probably felt like a huge disappointment. But looking back now, maybe you can see how it led to something even better. Or maybe it helped you grow in ways you didn't expect.
Exactly. Being able to reframe things is so important. And the Stoics want us to develop that perspective.
Yeah.
Not just in hindsight,
Yeah.
but right in the moment, or at least as soon as possible after. So how would you say someone can start to actually apply this in their everyday life?
Well, a simple practical step is to regularly ask yourself, is this something I have control over? If the answer is yes, then put your energy there, take action. But if the answer is no, that's your cue to practice acceptance and to be adaptable.
Right. And remember, acceptance isn't about giving up.
Yeah.
It's actively choosing to acknowledge reality and then consciously focusing your energy on what you can influence. Your thoughts, your actions, your judgments, that's where your power is.
So understanding this dichotomy of control, this first Stoic lesson, can really free you from unnecessary stress and worry. It allows you to approach life with a sense of calm, knowing that while you can't control everything that happens to you, you always have control over how you respond. And that brings us to our second Stoic lesson. Reflect before reacting.
Yeah, and in this fast-paced world we live in, instant responses are the norm, so taking time to pause and reflect can feel almost counterintuitive.
Yep.
But, our sources really stress the importance of it.
They do. It's so valuable. And think about how many things you come across every day that could trigger a reaction, right?
Right.
It's not just the quantity, though. It's the quality of your responses.
Exactly. Okay, imagine this. You're checking your messages, and you read something that just rubs you the wrong way. It could be on social media, an email from a coworker, something a friend says. That initial gut reaction might be to get defensive or angry or just frustrated.
Right, that automatic response kicks in.
Yeah. But what if, instead of firing off a response right away, you took a step back? Just paused for a moment before you reacted.
Right.
And it's important to understand, reflection isn't about suppressing those feelings.
Right.
It's about giving them space, letting them come up so you can examine them, understand them before they control your next move.
And that involves, asking yourself some questions. Why did this affect me this way? Are my beliefs or past experiences playing a role here?
Yeah.
Is this reaction really about what's happening now, or am I carrying baggage from before?
Exactly.
Those kinds of things.
Yeah, and these moments of self-inquiry, they can be really powerful because they also help us cultivate empathy. By taking that pause, you're giving yourself a chance to see things from other perspectives. Maybe that colleague's under a lot of stress, or maybe your friend didn't even realize how their words would land.
Right. Especially in your relationships, this practice can be so important. How many misunderstandings or hurt feelings could be avoided if we just took a second to reflect before reacting in the heat of the moment? It's all about building stronger, healthier connections.
Absolutely. And it's not just limited to our personal lives. In a professional setting, being able to pause and reflect is a hallmark of good leadership. Decisions made with careful thought and consideration tend to be a lot more effective, and they have a better impact in the long run.
So reflecting before reacting, it's not just some technique. It's really a way of being in the world, approaching life with more depth and understanding. It's about choosing thoughtful engagement instead of just going with that knee-jerk response.
It is. And that leads us to our third Stoic lesson. This one is all about practicing dispassion.
Now, when you hear the word dispassion, it might sound a bit cold, right?
Yeah.
Like you're suppressing your emotions or you just don't care. But that's not what the Stoics meant.
Not at all. For them, dispassion isn't about becoming unemotional or indifferent. It's about finding a more balanced perspective. It's about creating that calm space within yourself, even when everything around you feels chaotic.
So how would you explain that to someone who's, just starting to learn about Stoicism?
I like to use this analogy. Think about watching a really intense movie. You've got moments of excitement, sadness, tension, maybe even fear. Now, even though you're caught up in the story, a part of you knows it's just a movie, right?
Right.
You're feeling the emotions the story evokes, but you're not completely overwhelmed by them. You're observing them, not getting totally lost in the drama.
That's a great way to put it. And being able to practice this dispassion can be so helpful in today's world, with information overload everywhere.
Oh, yeah. We're constantly being bombarded with news, updates, social media. If we reacted emotionally to everything, we'd be completely exhausted.
Absolutely.
Dispassion gives you a kind of buffer, a way to process information, respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting on impulse.
Right.
It helps you engage with the world in a more sustainable way.
Yeah. And it's also incredibly valuable in your relationships. We've all been in situations where conversations get heated or arguments start.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Practicing dispassion can help you navigate those moments more skillfully. It allows you to really listen to what the other person is saying and respond with more reason and less just pure emotion.
Exactly. And developing this dispassion, it starts with, self-awareness, checking in with yourself regularly, noticing what triggers those strong emotions in you. Maybe it's certain situations or words that tend to set you off.
Right.
Once you understand those patterns, that's when you start to create that space between what happens and how you react.
Right. That space is so important.
It is.
It's that place where you have the freedom to actually choose how you want to respond, to act intentionally.
Exactly. And, it's interesting. While dispassion might seem like it's about detachment, it can actually help you enjoy things more.
Oh, how so?
Well, when you're not so fixated on specific outcomes, you can actually be more present in the moment. You can savor the experience without worrying about what might happen next.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So practicing dispassion, this third Stoic lesson, it's not about becoming emotionless.
Right.
It's about finding that inner balance.
Right.
That calmness that allows you to navigate the ups and downs of life with more peace and clarity.
Exactly. And that brings us to our fourth Stoic lesson. And this one's a question. Will this matter in 5 years?
Ooh, I like that one. Life throws all kinds of stuff at us, from those little daily annoyances to big life challenges. And in the middle of it all, it's easy to get totally caught up in the emotions. That frustrating email, an unexpected expense, a critical comment, it can all feel like such a big deal in the moment.
Oh, yeah. And this question, will this matter in 5 years? It's like a mental time machine. It lets you project yourself into the future. Look back at your current situation with some perspective. And suddenly, that frustration or anxiety might not feel so big anymore.
Right. It's amazing how much of a difference that shift in perspective can make. Our sources suggest that so much of what we worry about today, it'll just fade away. It'll be like a footnote in the bigger story of our lives. Think about the things that were stressing you out 5 years ago. How many of them still have that same emotional weight today?
I bet not many.
Probably not. And that realization can be really freeing.
Yeah, it's both humbling and empowering. Because, asking this question regularly, it helps you prioritize. It helps you figure out what's really important.
You can start to see the difference between those short-term setbacks that feel intense now but will probably fade away, and those things that have more lasting impact.
Like, a tough day at work. It can feel overwhelming in the moment.
Right.
But when you think about your career over the long term, it's really just one day.
Yeah, that broader perspective makes it easier to manage the immediate emotional impact.
Definitely. And this way of thinking, it also helps you build resilience. When you remind yourself of the bigger picture, it can lessen the anxiety, and it can even help you find better solutions.
Absolutely. You're not getting stuck in that immediate turmoil. You're stepping back.
Right.
Thinking more clearly, knowing that time usually brings clarity.
And it's not just about minimizing your worries. This question also encourages you to focus on what really matters.
Right.
Your relationships, personal growth, the experiences you have. If you want your actions to have a lasting impact, those are the things to prioritize. I totally agree. In a world that's so obsessed with the immediate, the fleeting, asking yourself, will this matter in 5 years? That's like your compass. It guides you towards a life of purpose, a better perspective, and a lot more peace.
Right. And that leads us to our 5th Stoic lesson. Keep a Stoic journal.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's not just about writing down what you did each day, is it?
No, it's more than that. A Stoic journal is a space for self-reflection. It's where you can have that inner dialogue, really examine your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions to everything that's happening in your life.
So it's about taking some time, maybe at the end of the day, to not just recap what happened, but to think about how you reacted to it.
Right. What triggered certain emotions, What values did you live up to or maybe fall short of? What patterns do you see in your behavior?
It's interesting. Our sources mention Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations.
Oh.
That wasn't meant for anyone else to read. It was his personal journal. A way for him to guide himself, to remind himself of those core Stoic ideas and to navigate the pressures of his life, which were pretty intense, with wisdom.
Yeah. And in our modern lives, with so many distractions and constant input, making time for introspection, for journaling, becomes even more important. It's like a way to ground yourself, find some clarity amid all the noise.
Absolutely. And over time, it can lead to some really valuable insights. You might realize certain situations consistently stress you out. And then you can think about ways to avoid those situations, or maybe you can change how you approach them. You might discover that certain practices, like focusing on gratitude, have a positive impact on your mood.
Right. Those patterns, they become a roadmap for growth.
Exactly.
And beyond just the insights, a Stoic journal helps you become more accountable for your actions.
Right.
Because when you're reflecting every day, you're more likely to notice those recurring mistakes or those poor choices. And instead of ignoring them, you're prompted to learn from them, to keep growing.
So it's almost like having a wise, non-judgmental friend, It's always there for you. It helps you understand yourself better, and it guides you towards living in line with your values.
I love that. It really is. And speaking of challenges, that leads us to our 6th Stoic lesson. See obstacles as opportunities. And I mean, let's face it, life throws a lot of them at us, both personally and in the bigger picture. Obstacles are just part of being human.
But the Stoics, they had a really interesting perspective on obstacles. They didn't see them as purely negative.
Right. They saw potential for growth and learning within those challenges.
They believe that while you can't always control what happens, you can control how you interpret it and how you respond. And that shift in mindset is what turns problems into opportunities.
Right. Like Marcus Aurelius, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way."
Oh, that's a powerful one.
It really is. It's saying that every obstacle you face can push you forward if you choose to see it that way. I like to think of a river flowing along. It comes up against a big rock. Now, the river doesn't just stop, right?
No.
It finds a way around. It might slowly wear down the rock, or maybe it carves out a whole new path. That obstacle, the rock, it actually changes the river's journey.
Yeah, that's a great image. And you can see that same thing happening in our own lives.
Yeah.
I mean, losing a job, which is definitely tough, it might lead to a new career path that's even more fulfilling. A relationship ending, as painful as it is, it can lead to so much personal growth.
Right.
And a better understanding of what you really want.
Absolutely. This Stoic perspective really helps build resilience. When you start to see those challenges as opportunities, you become more adaptable, more willing to face those difficulties head on.
And instead of asking, why is this happening to me?
Right.
You start to ask, what can I learn from this?
Right.
How can this make me stronger?
Exactly. And it's important to note that this doesn't mean you should go looking for hardship. No. Or ignore real problems.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that within each challenge, there's a chance for something positive to emerge.
So when you approach those difficulties with a positive attitude, with patience and perseverance, you can really transform those obstacles into stepping stones. They lead you toward greater wisdom, a more fulfilling life.
And that brings us to our 7th and final Stoic lesson. This one is all about practicing gratitude. I like to think of gratitude as that golden thread. It weaves through our lives. It brings moments of joy, contentment, and it gives us a deeper sense of perspective.
It's more than just saying thank you, isn't it?
It is. The Stoics, they really believed in making gratitude a regular part of life, a daily practice. They saw it as a way to be present, to really appreciate all the good in our lives, both big and small. It's about acknowledging the people and the experiences that contribute to our well-being, finding beauty in the ordinary moments.
Seneca, in our sources, he said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." That seems to connect gratitude to being grounded in the here and now.
Yes, exactly. It's about being fully present, savoring each moment, each experience,
Right.
recognizing the value of those things.
Right. And it's so easy to take those simple pleasures for granted,
Well, for sure.
Sunshine, a good laugh with friends, even just the fact that we can breathe.
Yeah.
When you take time to appreciate those things, their positive impact grows.
It does. And, practicing gratitude, it also helps balance out our tendency to focus on what's missing. Those unmet desires, those worries about the future. When you consciously shift your attention to what you already have, you feel more content.
Right.
And your well-being improves.
So how can someone start cultivating this practice of gratitude?
Well, our sources suggest a simple method. Just take a few minutes each day, maybe at the start or the end, to list 3 things you're grateful for.
Oh, that's easy enough.
Yeah, and over time, that simple habit can really shift your perspective. You become more aware of the good, and it can make you more resilient when you face challenges.
It's also worth mentioning how gratitude can strengthen your relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
When you express genuine appreciation for others, for their kindness, for their support, it strengthens those bonds, creates a positive cycle.
It does. And in a world that's always telling us to want more, gratitude is that reminder of the abundance that already exists. It's an invitation to celebrate the present moment and to go through life with thankfulness.
Absolutely. Thank you all for being a part of this podcast with us. If this episode helped you slow down and reflect, support Deep Dive Stoic. Like, subscribe, and pass it on. See you next time.